Well, good morning and welcome to another session of our Back to Basics Healthy Living series. My name is Brenda Holt, and I am the Associate State Director of Community Outreach for the Arizona State Office. I'm glad to be your host for today's program. AARP is one of the largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organizations in the United States, and we assist people to choose how they age as they live. Every month we have a theme, and for the month of March, we actually have two themes, and one is savings and planning, and the other one is fraud. So if you want more information about either of those topics, feel free to visit us at aarp.org/fraud and aarp.org/savings. Now let's get into today's presentation from Coach Sherry Ann. Sherry Ann, today we'll be talking about the blue zones. I'm very excited about this topic because I'm currently reading a book that's entitled I've Decided to Live to 120. It's a very fascinating read, and it also references the blue zones. So, for those who aren't familiar with the topic, what can you tell us today?
Well, Blue Zones has been around for, a couple of decades actually. And so it was started by Dan Buettner, and he partnered up with National Geographic and he was actually on a trek with his buddies. And they were talking about, people living to be 100, and we call them centenarians. And so he partnered up with National Geographic and decided, with a team of doctors and scientists, and just went searching for these concentrated areas of centenarians. And so they found five, and that was decades ago. And so I'm sure there's more now, but the original five are actually kind of interesting. And so I have a little bit about each one of them. And then we'll dive into what they call the power of nine. And so they have developed this they took all of the places and figured out the top 9 things that they're all doing, because each one has something a little different. But there's the power of 9 that each of these areas are doing to help you live your most fulfilled life. Because yes, it would be awesome to live a long time, but how do we want to be living when we live to be 100? Do we want to be bedridden, or do we want to be living a very fulfilled life? Okay. And that's one key. So it's not just living to be a centenarian, it's actually living to be a centenarian with a very fulfilled life. And so we'll cover those topics. But the top 5, the 5 places that they decided were the most concentrated areas. And the first one is Okinawa, Japan, which they have the highest concentrated of women, female centenarians.
Really?
Yes. And it's really kind of neat because when they're born, they're put into these groups called moais. I might be mispronouncing it, but I believe it's moai. And what it is it's a group of 7 to 8 girls that grow up together. And so they create this immediate social network that is with them throughout their entire life. And in one of the Blue Zone videos, you can see there's this group of 8 women that are either close to or already are centenarians. And they're just so cute because they've grown up together. They've been together for almost 100 years. And so having that connection, that tight connection, that's one of the power of 9 that we'll be talking about. But that's so Okinawa, Japan is known for their moais. And they also embrace what they call their ikiga, which is their purpose in life.
Okay.
They're very, very prone to making that a very purposeful thing in their life. Sardinia, Italy, that has the highest concentration of centenarians. And that is because in Sardinia, they are typically doing their own hunting and fishing. So I think your computer is like dinging.
I know. These are emails coming in, as we're talking. I try
to know that you're busy.
Yeah, you block your calendar, it doesn't matter, right? Okay.
I get it. You're in a high place at AARP, so you're highly sought after. I get it.
I apologize for that. I'll figure out how to turn this off. Once I get down the road. Don't worry about it.
You're good. Other thing in Sardinia is they partake in afternoon siesta and they drink their red wine. But their red wine is called Cannonau, and it has 2 to 3 times greater of the flavonoids or help with heart artery scrubbing. And so that's one of their things that they have is they're really big into wine, and their wine is much better than typically the wine that we're getting here in the United States.
Okay.
So the next place is Icaria, Greece. And so they have mountain living. So they're very, very active, and they're known for their Mediterranean diet. So one of the Power of Nine will be diet, and we'll talk about that. But it's typically a Mediterranean diet, which is 95% plant-based. And so that's why Icaria, Greece, is on there. And then Nicoya, Costa Rica. So down close to the equator, where they're also doing their own foods, harvesting a lot of their own foods, and it's very plant-based as well. And they have the same thing as a Moai, but it's called Plan de Vida, and it's have a purpose in life. And so it's having a purpose in life, and they're very family and friend oriented. They're very communal in how they operate down in Costa Rica. And then the fifth place, interestingly enough, is in the United States, and it's Loma Linda. And the reason it's Loma Linda is because they have a large concentration of Seventh-day Adventists, which really take their diet from the Bible, which then again, it mimics very much a Mediterranean diet. So it's very plant-based. They're also very cultural driven. And they take a 24 hours on the weekends where they're just focused on family, faith, nature. And so their sense of community is what's really driven their high concentration of centenarians. So 5 very interesting places: Okinawa, Icaria, Sardinia, Nicoya, and Loma Linda.
Right. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Just to even think about those places, to me, they're kind of exotic, as well. So I kind of wonder, that maybe play a part as well. Climate, I'm sure, probably helps as well. So, okay. All right.
Climate does definitely take its definite place. They don't address that, but if you look at all of them, they're all in a very neutral climate place, very much so. And so, going back to the whole purpose thing, it's interesting because they say that the 2 most dangerous years in someone's life, do you know what they are?
Birth and death. I don't know.
Birth is one of them. So the first year of your life, because of infant mortality rate, and the second year is the year that people retire. And that is because typically when people retire, they lose their sense of purpose. And when they lose their sense of purpose, people they've figured out, the statistic is they die within 7 years. It's kind of very, very interesting. So having a purpose and having a plan of what you're wanting to be driven for in life is very, very important. So when people retire, what we encourage people to do is start volunteering.
Okay.
And so it's, volunteer or, focus on your family, find things that will give you purpose to wake up each day. And it's really important to be very, very connected to that purpose.
Okay. Well, Todd wants to know, how do you spell the word meaning, have a purpose in life? How did you spell that word? Ika, what was the word?
Yeah. Ikigai.
Okay.
It's Japanese, and I'm pretty sure it's pronounced ikigai.
Ikigai. Okay. Yeah. Purpose. To have a purpose.
Yep.
Okay.
It's very, very, very important. I mean, it's one of those things that does keep us connected to ourselves, which is very, very important to have, a good, healthy heart and a good, healthy brain, and then connected to others, having a reason why you're getting up in the morning. So having that purpose is very, very important. So did you know that, you do know because we've had this conversation, but maybe the viewers don't. But back in 2009, Blue Zones actually partnered with AARP to do their first study within a town, and it was in Albert Lea, Minnesota. It was really quite fascinating. And so they've been doing these studies with towns where they're converting the town and creating more pathways for people to walk, more places for people to be active, and community gardens so we can be growing our own food. It's really quite fascinating. And so that was the first project they did back in 2009, and they partnered with AARP. I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, and they also partnered with some of the medical facilities, because you bring them in as well, right, to kind of coordinate the program or the project.
Well, the projects are very, very expensive. Yeah, so you have to find people to come in and just help support it, financially. But they're amazing projects because they do convert towns, and then it's been proven that when they do this, that they're able to measure the increase in well-being in people. They're able to lower healthcare costs, and they're able to improve productivity within people that are still working and even people that aren't working. There's less tobacco usage.
Okay.
Population is a lot more active, which is, going to help with them being so much healthier. There's a drop in obesity with that and diabetes, and it just boosts the economic vitality also because people are being, they're happier with life. So they're out doing more and it helps the economy. So there's a lot that goes into it, and so but they're amazing projects, really, really amazing projects.
Okay. And I just wondered, do we know why Minnesota was chosen? Was it because they reached out maybe to Blue Zones and got that going?
Um, they did, but it was, well, Blue Zones had kind of put out this like, we're going to do this, and so
Okay.
towns had sent in their petitions like, pick us, please, and
Okay.
they chose Albert Lee because they felt like they would have probably their most success there as their flagship project,
Okay.
and it was very successful, and it's continued, which is great. Like they can go back and look at studies, and it's just maintained, so it's really quite wonderful.
Okay, I have another quick question. Alex wants to know. He says, why are the Japanese? Why is the Japanese diet so healthy? When we hear that we should stay away from white rice, but it's a staple in their diet.
It's not just that they're doing white rice, and their white rice is made different than the white rice here in Arizona. I mean, not Arizona, but just here in America, I should say. And we're bleaching ours, where theirs is just a different kind of. It's a jasmine rice, and so it's made differently. It's not bleached, but they're loading their diet with vegetables, and it's really quite interesting. I can actually pull up what. So 67% of a Japanese diet is actually sweet potatoes. Only 12% is rice.
60 what percent?
67% of their diet is from sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes.
Yeah. And so that's their staple. And then only 12% is rice. And then they're using a ton of other vegetables. So, and only 2% of their diet is really meat and it's mainly poultry, but meat.
I
So,
had no idea. Sweet potatoes. Wow.
I know.
Okay.
When I saw that too, I was like, what? But
I know sweet potatoes, but I never knew. Okay, well that's good then. Okay.
Yeah. So let's
Now,
jump into the power of nine. We'll go through the power of nine.
okay.
And before I jump into that, actually, I do want to explain that what's interesting is here in the US, for every 6,000 births that we have, we only yield one centenarian for every 6,000 births. But in Italy, for every 1,000 births, they're yielding 4 centenarians. So our American diet really does need to have an overhaul. Really does. So the power of 9, and it's really quite a wonderful thing to kind of keep track of. And the first thing is to move naturally. Move as naturally as you can. One of the things about the people in Japan is they sit on the floor. They sit on the floor to read, to commune, to eat. And the reason they do that is because that's part of their culture, but it also encourages movement because they're having to get up out of the floor and sit back down on the floor, get up out of the floor. And if you think about all the muscles that are involved to stand up out of the floor versus stand up out of a chair, it's a lot more. So they're actively moving, on a regular basis, just naturally. So just, park farther away, use the stairs, get up and just move your body. And you really want to try to move about every 20 minutes, especially if you're sitting at a desk or sitting at home. Just get up at about every 20 minutes and just move your body.
Okay.
So, but moving naturally would be best. And if you can garden's great, doing things like that. So move naturally. Number 2 is, like I said before, having a purpose, and you need to articulate it, and then you need to live it. And be embraced by it every day. When you wake up in the morning, be grateful for the new day and think about your purpose and why you're doing it. Okay. And so having a purpose is very, very important. And for some people, it's especially, I'm going to go back to Japan because that's where, so the women aren't typically out working, but their purpose is their family, and that they are wholeheartedly devoted to that. And generationally, they have multi-generational homes. And so it's really, so the women are just, that's their purpose, is to give back to their families, and they know that. So have a purpose. It doesn't matter what it is, just have a purpose.
Have one. Okay.
Yeah. And then number 3 is downshift. Take pause in life, have the right outlook on life, having a good attitude about what you're doing, how you're living, and take time, take pause. we're, especially here in America, we're just go, 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 go. And we're instant gratification and we're looking for answers. And there's, people are, because of the internet, we're just not taking pause. And so it's like, just make sure that you're downshifting and taking pause every day. It's really, really important.
Okay.
Number 4 is eat wisely. I knew you did this on there. Yeah. So have a plant-based diet. Have it be about 95% plant-based. You can do heavy legumes, which is beans, and try an 80% rule. And what that is only eat what's 80% on your plate. Like, just really don't overeat. Like, we have a tendency to like finish everything that's on our plate, and so try an 80-20 rule and just eat 80% of what's on your plate.
And what about a smaller plate? We've gotten away from.
We serve on smaller plates here in my house because it makes them feel like they're getting, all they need. Because we have our plates here in America are huge. They're really big, and we don't need huge dinner plates like that. And of those 5 places that I mentioned, because the next thing about eating wisely is wine at 5. Have a glass of wine. Wine at 5. And the only one that don't do that is the Loma Linda, because they're Seventh-day Adventists, so they don't drink alcohol. But so, like I said, every one of those places have something a little different. But it's been proven in red wine. Do red wine because of the flavonoids.
Okay, wine at 5. I can do that.
Wine at 5. But, eating wisely is really, really important. Making sure that you're getting plenty of your vitamins and nutrients and all of that to just help sustain your body and help it heal and repair when you're sleeping at nighttime.
Okay.
So number 7 is, the next 3 are all part of connect. Like, we want to make sure we're connecting. And so it's having the right tribe. Because sometimes, like, my tribe is my family. I'm very close with my family. I'm one of 5. And we all have partners and we have children. So my tribe is huge. And then my tribe extends to my really close friends. So social networking. And so not everybody has a big family like me. So it's finding the right social network to support you. Okay. And so just find your tribe. Find your tribe. And your tribe could be friends. It doesn't have to be family. So having the right social network is really, really important. And putting loved ones first. And this goes back to what I was saying before. In multi-generational families, they are the ones that live the longest. And it's because we put our loved ones first. And it's, when you're an adult, you're taking care of a child. And then you sometimes, get your children raised, and then you turn around and then you're taking care of your parents. But then it's going to happen to you. Like, your parents raised you, and then you lived your life. Yep. And then as you get older, hopefully, if you did right, you have friends or family or loved ones that are taking care of you. So it's just one of those things of just making sure that you're taking care of your loved ones.
Okay. All right.
Really warms your heart. And that does help you live longer, having a happy heart. Okay. And the last part of Power 9, number 9, is belong to a faith-based community. Denomination does not matter, but belonging to a faith-based community has been proven to help with longevity. So, yep, very interesting, right?
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, like you said, the 9. I mean, that's kind of easy to remember. Somewhat kind of like that cycle.
Yeah.
And if we remember that, I think we may live to that 100 that we talked about.
Yeah.
And the quality of life, I think increases having those components.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yep. I mean, the quality of life is huge, but here in America, we definitely do have a health epidemic. 67% of Americans are overweight or obese, and that's really high. 4 out of 10 will probably end up with diabetes. Those are the statistics that are being put out there. And so it's really important that we shift the way that we're living our lives, and having it be more purposeful and not just shallow, not just going to work, coming home and eating and sitting on the couch. Like, have some purpose, have some community that you're, devoted to, because with the health epidemic that we're facing, the gym supplements, diet industry is a $110 billion industry. Like, the amount of money that's poured into that is insane, but it doesn't create sustainability for people.
Okay.
So what Blue Zones is about is creating a lifestyle, not just a quick fix, not a pill, not a gym, not something that's quick. This is a lifestyle that you can adopt and
Hmm.
really live so that you can have a healthy lifestyle, a fulfilling lifestyle, that
Hmm.
will carry you on.
Okay. Would you recommend, so when we talk about meals and eating, would you recommend that we even like prepare our meals ahead of time so that we can kind of stay on track, rather than just kind of going to the kitchen and saying, okay, what am I going to have today? Is
Yep.
planning a thing to do? Okay.
100%. Because a lot of the times with if you have to look at your lifestyle and you have to be realistic about what's going on. Because if you are working long hours and you
Mhm.
come home, are you really going to sit there and prepare a meal? Like, you have to be honest with yourself. And if you're not, find the day in the week. Because I mean, if your Sundays are your slow day, like where it's your family day and your communal day, sit down and prepare some things that day, like that you can easily reheat throughout the week.
Okay.
Plan ahead. Like, think about, as your evening is winding down, think about your next day, about what it's going to look like, and if you're going to have time to prepare food and
Mhm.
just go into it prepared. Because when we aren't prepared, that's when we're making really poor choices.
Mhm.
So,
Well, I know one of the questions in my house almost daily is, what are we having for dinner?
oh
I,
yes,
yes.
yeah, yeah. It's never what are we having for breakfast, or it's always what's for dinner.
What's for dinner? Yeah, what's for dinner? So we're trying to get in the habit of doing slow cooker meals, and trying to incorporate more fruits, vegetables, into the diet. I also read, Sherry Ann, that the brain, after about 20 minutes when you're eating, the brain knows that it's full, or it already sends a signal after about 20 minutes of eating that you should be full, or you should be getting to that point where you should stop. What do you say about that?
I mean, the 20 minutes, that's hard because, like, some people eat slow, some people eat really fast. I mean, like, when
Yes,
my kids were
right.
infants, I was inhaling my food. Otherwise, it wasn't going to get eaten. So,
Okay.
I mean, that's relative. I think really what it's about is portion size, like knowing your portion size and not overdoing it.
Okay.
And if you do finish your plate and you're hungry, give yourself at least 10 to 15 minutes, drink some
Okay.
water, and just let it sit. Because
Okay.
when we have a tendency to be really, if we wait till we're really, really hungry and we're stuffing ourselves, then we're not giving it a chance to like register. And then we're going back for seconds when we don't even need seconds.
Okay.
That really happens typically at events, parties, social gatherings, things like that, because people are busy talking and not really paying attention to how much they're eating.
Mm-hmm.
So just if you're thinking that you need seconds, just pause, because
Was
what you
okay.
loaded up your plate with is going to be just enough.
Chances are, or drink water and finish filling. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
let it sit and let it settle, because then it'll
Yeah.
register and be like, oh yeah, I'm.
Okay. Yeah. I'm full.
The thing is with our life, like how long we live, how we live, a lot of that is lifestyle. People talk about when you see like someone that's living to be 80, 90, 100, like, oh, they must have good genetics. Actually, it's been proven that it's not genetics. I mean, 20% of it is genetics for sure.
Okay.
But the other
Okay.
8%
It's what
is
we.
how they've lived their life. It's the
Okay.
choices they've made and how they're consuming their food, what they're consuming, what they're doing with their time.
Okay. Stress level. Yeah. Things
Oh,
of that nature.
stress level is a
Yeah.
huge part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't address that in the power of nine, but it really, you can bring it into the downshift one, number 3 that I had talked about.
Okay.
Because people that are downshifting are managing their stress better because they're doing things too down. They're either meditating, they're doing some yoga, they're just sitting with themselves. It's just downshifting does help us manage stress.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
that's really important. Is really just making sure that you have all of those things going on. And if it's too much to think about the power of 9, just start with one thing. Just start with your diet. And if you've got a diet that's dialed in, then start with your community. Like, who are you connecting with? Who
Okay.
is your social network? Who's your tribe?
Hmm.
Focus on your tribe. Because that's really, I found that it's really purpose and tribe that gets
You say
missed.
yes. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Well, these are all some great tips, and like I said, we've been hearing about the Blue Zone, and so we were we wanted to make sure we covered this topic today to let people make them more aware that it's out there. I would encourage anybody to maybe pick up some books on the topic to to begin to read to get more information. So like in Japan. You said that the women tend to live longer. How much longer do we know? Do we know how much longer? Or
I don't know. I just know that it's the longest concentration. I mean, it's the largest concentration of women. So just women
okay,
tend to live longer there than than the men. And I'm pretty sure it's because of their moai, their lifelong group that's formed when
from the
they're
beginning. Wow, and that's interesting. Too that that would be something that would be brought to the forefront. Right up on birth, like you said. You bring the girls in right away, and they're just raised. Just kind of raised with each other.
yeah,
So
they don't get to choose their group. They're put in their group.
they're just put in a group. Okay, and this is here you are.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they even talk about how they get in fights, but it's so they learn how to do uh resolution. So when they're having discontent with one another and they're sharing their heartaches, they're sharing their joys. They have just this unconditional love that's started from birth, and it doesn't go anywhere. And so it's really, really quite cool.
Wow, that's fascinating. So now I want to read up on that now too, to just kind of listen at these groups,
Right? I know.
just to see what they're doing. Absolutely to see what they're doing. I know that a lot of even at ARP, intergenerational. I think that does play a part. I grew up in a household where it was mom and dad, it was grandparents, it was cousins. There was never a time when there wasn't someone, a relative that was in the house with us. And I do agree with that. The sense of community, the sense of purpose, and the sense of family. We always had family around, and I kind of miss that now as I've gotten older. But I do see that. I do see that being an important aspect, and
Yeah.
I haven't forgotten that's where I came from. That tribe. So I agree. I agree with that.
It's a big difference. I mean, so and before we wrap up here, because I know we're getting close to it, but if you're wondering where to start, also, like I said, just start with one thing. I guess the best thing I can tell you is look at your radius of your life. Like we all pretty much function within a 10-mile radius from our home, and some even 5-mile radius. And
Okay.
so look within that radius, and and really think about the social workshops that you might have available to you. I know it's challenging right now with COVID.
Mhm.
Things are starting to shift a little bit with the vaccine being available to everybody. But look at your social workshops, your social network within your radius. Look at where you're shopping and how you're shopping. And look at if you're not working, if you're retired and you're not volunteering somewhere, think about where you could volunteer within that 5-mile radius. And
Okay.
even the closer you make it, it's almost better, because if you can walk to it,
It's even better.
I mean, if you can walk to your grocery store and carry home what you need for the day, then that's even better. If you can walk to where you're going to volunteer, if you can walk to go do your social networking, like walking to the park or walking on the green belt, think of these things and try to keep things within a close radius so that you can be active to get to them on foot.
Okay, and that helps. Wow. Yeah, it makes sense. It does make sense. So they've got it right. These five places. Yeah, they've got it right. And then the wine. You threw the wine in there. I think.
You liked the wine at 5.
Well, yes, I can incorporate that into my. I mean, one of my doctors did tell me a while ago to drink a glass of red wine. She did recommend it, and I do every now and then. But now that you've told me it's okay, it's
Well, it's red wine because it has the artery scrubbing flavonoids. That's
right.
what we talk about.
Okay. Okay.
Red
So I'll see. I like white, but I'll see about incorporating some red,
wine.
into it. Yeah, I'll see. So what do you have coming up for us within the next 2 weeks?
So in 2 weeks, we're going to be covering stress management tips. It's still very, very stressful. Some people are returning to work, and that's creating stress. Some people are still staying at home.
Okay.
And, here in Arizona, our governor has lifted the mask mandate, but it's made it very challenging because some businesses still want to have masks. And there's just this external level of stress that people are still trying to deal with. And then we have our own internal stresses, our emotional stresses. We have our, stresses that are coming in from our environment. So we're being bombarded with stresses all day long, all the time. And so I'm going to give you some stress management tips to deal with those.
To help with that. Okay. Well, we are looking forward to this. This has been another wonderful session of our Back to Basics, and we hope that you've enjoyed it today. I know that I have. I've enjoyed being able to host and go back and forth with Sherry Ann on this, and I picked up some tips that I know that I can use, and we will see you on April 13th, everybody. Have a good day.